See it in the eyes that look right into your soul. Love has many faces, proud and humble, beautiful and plain, and young and old.
Hello and welcome to Love Has Many Faces. I'm your host, Marilyn Milano, here on Alternative Talk 1150. And I am pleased that we are bringing back another return guest, Jacintha Syed from Saving Great Animals. Jacintha has been on the show a few times. It's been a while since we've spoken to her, so I'm eager to hear what she has to say about current needs, how things are out there in the rescue world. I can tell you this, though. If I go on to Nextdoor and see a post that someone is trying to rehome an animal, for example, the general consensus is always that people say, talk to a reputable group. Don't just put it out there on Craigslist or Nextdoor. Things can happen. And Saving Great Animals is the name of a group that always comes up. So, I mean, this is a group that is trusted. They've been around for a long time. And again, I'm very excited to be able to talk with Jacintha in just a few minutes. Couple of quick bits of housekeeping. A reminder to those who might not know that our show is now also podcast. So you can find the Love Has Many Faces podcast just by typing that in the search bar, Love Has Many Faces podcast, or go to where you normally find your podcasts and type that in. And my podcast should come up. And this makes it easier to share. And it's not time sensitive in terms of when you can listen. So very happy to have our messages getting out to more folks, because that's what it is all about. Raise awareness, touch hearts, save lives, keep the word out there. And, people are inclined to help in different ways. So whatever people are moved to do, it's always appreciated. Anyway, with that, we will take a very short pause and come right back and begin our conversation with Jacintha from Saving Great Animals. This is Marilyn Milano. You're listening to Love Has Many Faces on Alternative Talk 1150.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Whispering Dragon Center in Shoreline, we cover the world of animals. This week, it's Shelter Rescue Sanctuary and anything that helps our Animal Friends Sunday. We'll check in with Meow Cat Rescue, Help Animals India, and Animals24-7.org. Plus, we'll find out about all the great events and classes coming up at the Ananda Institute for Living Yoga. Hope you can join us for Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Going our own way every day. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Love Has Many Faces. And again, happy to introduce today's guest, a return visitor to the show, Jacintha Syed from Saving Great Animals. Jacintha, welcome, and thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me back.
Always a pleasure. So, how about for those people that may not be familiar with Saving Great Animals, just a quick rundown for the person out there that maybe hasn't heard of you, or they've heard of you, but they don't know exactly what you are and what you do.
Oh, of course. Saving Great Animals is a foster-based rescue. We're based in Seattle, and our foster homes range anywhere from Anacortes to Olympia, so we're pretty well spread out. We have an average of about 90 dogs in our care at any given time, and they all come from situations that are less than ideal. They've just been let down in different ways by the humans in their lives. And it is our mission to help these dogs with whatever medical needs they have, whatever training they might need, and then we help them find forever homes. All of our dogs are, spayed, vaccinated, microchipped, and we work with our adopters, our applicants, to make sure that they find just the right match. The matchmaking part is a huge part of the work that we do. We love having conversations with people who are interested in adopting an animal so that we can help them find just the right one.
I think that's fantastic. I think you and I have talked before, but certainly it's a topic worth revisiting about how important it is to find the right match, for example, because if a dog needs a lot of exercise and maybe it's one of the working breeds, they've got a lot of energy, they're going to need more frequent, longer walks. They may be really a good fit for the person that does some hiking, going to the beach a bit and walking. If, on the other hand, the dog is a snuggle bunny and isn't really that interested in hiking up a trail. I mean, they're active, but they'd rather sit with you and hang out with you. I think that it's important to know that too, because there are people that want a snuggle bunny. They love all animals, but their lifestyle is going to be more suited to somebody that's a little quieter. So, again, I think it's wonderful that you um, really take the time to determine, is this dog going to fit? Is this dog comfortable with children, other dogs, cats, etc.? Because that in itself, that step can eliminate so many mismatches or pets that are returned.
Yes, absolutely. And we see that a lot. We get a lot of surrender requests from people who say, I got this dog and it's really just not working out for us. Can we surrender the dog to your organization? And
Mhm.
situations like that can be prevented by just making smart choices about the dog that you bring home. And when you spend some time thinking about whether that dog is really the right match for you, and we help you with that.
Now, what do you think there is any particular line of thought or belief or attitude that results in people getting the wrong pets,
I
wrong
think
for
people
them?
often fall in love with the way a dog looks. They think the dog is cute, or they've always wanted a shepherd, or they've always wanted, a little Havanese. And it becomes more about the look of the dog rather than the temperament or, the dog's energy needs or the dog's size. So yeah, I would just say be cautious. Don't fall in love with just how a puppy looks or how a dog looks, and really spend some time thinking about how that dog might fit into your life.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, so again, for example, there's nothing wrong if you happen to love Goldens or Spaniels or whatever, to find one that fits what you love or what you think you love. But there is also, at least in my estimation, and you see more dogs than I do, but just knowing people that I know and having had pets, there can be a lot of variance in the temperament of the same breed. For example, with Cockers, which is the breed that I know because I've had several and have two lovely ones right now that are as sweet as can be. But there are some that are super gentle and mellow, and there are those that are super high energy. They need you to throw the ball all the time. They're more barky. I mean, and so there are even differences within the breeds. But I know before we touched on another topic as well, which is when you are bringing a dog from a rescue situation as opposed to getting one as a puppy, there are things to be considered, like their re-entry into the world, correct?
I mean, yes, there obviously, when we bring in dogs, there are some dogs that come in and they're happy, fairly well adjusted. They might temporarily be a little confused because their situation has changed, but they're essentially, happy, social, friendly dogs that will easily slide into their new situation. And then
Right.
on the other hand of the spectrum, there are dogs that have really struggled. They've not had a good life, they've not been treated kindly. They may, suffer from some anxiety issues or, some other type of behavioral issue. And so there's a wide range, right? I think the thought that rescue dogs are somehow inherently broken is definitely not true. However, there is I think a transitional period that all rescue dogs go through that make them a little bit more emotionally fragile, and you need to be
Yes.
sensitive to that.
Yes. Now, you said that at any given time, you probably have around 90 dogs in your care. I remember a conversation you and I had a while back where we talked about the fact that so many of the rescue organizations are so much fuller than they used to be. For example, I've been doing this show for over 9 years. I remember in the beginning days of the show that I would talk to rescue groups and they would say, we get dogs from the South, maybe Central California, Texas, the southern Gulf states, because there are more homes up here that need them and we can help place them better. What I have also heard in the last year or two is that that has changed and the groups up here are now full. And some of that started with COVID. Do you want to talk about that whole situation a little bit?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we're very, very, very overwhelmed. We're in a crisis here that we have never experienced. The level of overwhelm is beyond belief. Similar to a lot of other rescue organizations, we used to bring dogs to Washington State from other states that were struggling a lot more. And Washington was often considered a bit of a safe haven. There were more adopters than there were available dogs, which was a lovely problem to have. That is no longer the case.
Mm,
The tables have completely turned. Shelters are full, rescues are full. At the beginning of the show, when you mentioned that if you have a dog that you want to surrender, go to a rescue groups. Unfortunately, these days, if you have a dog to surrender, many rescues will turn you away also because we just don't have space.
that's right.
And yes, it did start with COVID, but it's a really complex issue. And I think that, some people say, well, all of these dogs got adopted during COVID and now people don't want them anymore because they have to go back to work and they're not,
Mhm.
working from home anymore. Some of that's true, but it's such a complex issue with so many variables at play that just blaming it on COVID is oversimplifying it a little bit.
Mhm.
I have a hard time summarizing it because there are so many layers to it. It's an issue that has grown over a number of years, and it's not an easily solvable issue. But what we are seeing is extremely large numbers of dogs in need in all parts of the state, rural Washington in particular, Eastern Washington, and dogs that are abandoned, dogs that are neglected, entire litters of puppies that are, found on the side of the road,
Oh,
fending for themselves. In
oh,
certain parts of the states, we literally have packs of dogs now wild running around, raising themselves and randomly multiplying. Spaying and neutering is difficult to access for some people, which doesn't help the problem. But yeah, the level of overpopulation is extreme. Unfortunately, the number of adoptions have also greatly reduced. So now you have this situation where, the bathtub is already full, the drain is plugged, and water is spilling everywhere. And, rescues and shelters are trying to mop up as best as we can, but we just can't keep up.
now, I mean, this just breaks my heart because it felt like there was more of a handle on it. Do you think at all that people have, gone back to taking a more lax attitude towards spay and neuter? Is it an education issue about knowing what to do? Is it a not caring if people become more callous? Are they desperate financially? Uh, why? Why are people abandoning litters of puppies or letting their dogs reproduce? Now, I understand in some parts of the state there isn't access to spay and neuter, but I know there are some organizations that will do that at a low or no cost. So is it letting people know, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think part of it is a economic issue. Not everybody is able to afford spay and neuters. Prices for spay and neuters at regular veterinary clinics have quadrupled in the
Hmm.
last 2 or 3 years. Even for rescues, we used to pay maybe $100 for a rescue spay or neuter, and now that's almost 400. And
Ah,
similarly, for the average person in the community, 3, 4 years ago, you could get your dog spayed or neutered for maybe around $300. And that's now, around $1,200. There are
oh
many
my
veterinary
gosh.
clinics that charge even more than that. So, the veterinary professionals are just not making it very accessible. A lot of veterinary clinics have been purchased by
Yes.
corporations that are looking for high profit numbers, and
Right.
that certainly has an impact on whether or not people can provide medical care to their animals, because it's not just spay and neuter, right? What do you do if your dog is sick and your dog needs to go to the vet and you can't afford it?
Oh, I know.
That's when they call us and they say, hey, my dog needs a $6,000 operation that I can't afford. Can you take my dog?
Oh,
And then I'm like, well, where do you think we have to get the money from? So access to veterinary care that is affordable is really difficult. Part of it is a cultural issue too. I think there's many people who don't understand the importance of spaying and neutering. May not be educated about the impact that that has.
yes.
And there's always a large group of people who are looking to make a buck over the backs of animals and who happily will breed a litter of puppies in their backyard, not knowing how to do that safely and well, who then realize that, actually nobody's looking for puppies. What am I going to do with them? Gosh, it's really expensive to feed them, and some of them are sick. I don't want these babies anymore. I'm just going to set them in a field somewhere and hope for the best. And we
Oh,
see that every day.
oh. I mean,
It's
I don't know how people can keep keep from falling into despair. I mean, I do know that some people in rescue and in veterinary care have become extremely depressed and distressed over these situations.
Mhm.
And to your point about clinics that have been purchased by corporations for profit, of course, that's also happened in care for humans. And it, I don't want to go off on a rant about it because I could, and I don't want to use the time on the show for that. I want to talk about your group and how people can help. But I will say that I feel that the focus on profit over protecting people and pets is it's a wart or worse on our culture, and it's an indictment of our society. Where are our values? Why is everything driven by the bottom line? I understand the business has to make a profit, but I think greed is an issue. And it is distressing. Think about these babies. These are sentient beings. Think about these dogs who've been abandoned. And I mean, one of the things that we do at Seattle Animal Shelter's Pet Loss Support Group, I'm a volunteer on that group for people who've lost pets. We try to encourage folks to foster, not to force the issue, but let's say that they don't feel ready to bring a new animal home, but they're missing the patter of little paws. And we talk about the benefits of fostering and that there's such a need for it. And one woman did this with several dogs, and actually one of them wound up, she adopted him and she didn't plan on it, but he just happened to be a fit and it worked. And so we try to get the messages out. But I would like to hear from you what you think people can do. So let's say people are listening. They want to help you. Obviously, if they go to your website and it's savinggreatanimals.org, is that still the correct?
Correct, savinggreatanimals.org.
Okay, so people can go to your website, learn more, and donate. What would you tell people who really want to help? And let's say they can make a small donation, but they don't have a lot of money, which is, we'd love to find donors with a lot, but what can people do? What does your group need? What would you like to see people offering?
Yeah. Obviously, financial support is great, but not everybody's able to do that. So that's fine. Everybody contributes in the way that they can. One way to support us is by volunteering. We are always in need of volunteers. We have a rehabilitation home in Renton that we always need volunteers for to spend time with the dogs that we take care of there. You can foster. Fostering is a wonderful thing to do. It's not for everyone, but if you have space in your home and you are compassionate towards a dog in need and you think that you can do that, submit a foster application. Talk to people in your community. Um, as I look around me, even in my own environment, when one of my friends says, I saw this cockapoo puppy on a website and I really want to adopt it and it's only $2,300 and they're going to fly it directly to me from Texas. You better believe I'm going to be sitting down with that person explaining to them why they shouldn't be doing that.
Mhm.
Or, when somebody in my neighborhood is like, hey, do you know anybody who has a dog that is in heat? Because, I have a really beautiful shepherd and I would love for him to have puppies one day.
Ah,
You better believe I will sit down with that person and explain why we don't want to be doing that.
right.
So education, sharing information is huge also, right? People need to be aware of the
Yes,
crisis that our animal population is facing. And it's not just dogs, it's cats also.
right.
Talk about the importance of spaying and neutering. There are many people who don't understand that importance. Even something as simple as, hey, you have a dog. Is your dog microchipped? If your dog ever, escapes from your home, is it able to find its way back to you? Do you have a tag on your dog? Why is your dog off leash? There are
Right.
so many simple ways in which you can spread the word and help educate people on how to keep their dogs safe, on how to not add to the overpopulation crisis that we are facing. Um, so yeah, there's
I
so
mean,
many ways to
I
support.
I think, when we talk about like people not having the right understanding of why it's so important to spay and neuter, I've heard people over the years say, well, I'm not going to neuter my dog, that's emasculating him, and you're thinking, really? Are we living in like the seventh century here?
Mhm.
But people think that. But the other thing that people might not realize is that there are health benefits to spaying and neutering, because, for example, for an unspayed female, even if they're not breeding, they can develop pyometria, or other conditions that can be life-threatening that would not happen if they were spayed. And the same with neutering animals. So there are health benefits as well. And I don't know how we get past some of the attitudes with people, but again, getting the word out there, letting people know, spreading the word more about resources when there are resources to help with those costs. I know there are some organizations that will help with that, but of course, everyone's kind of getting caught up in this tsunami of too many dogs and too much cost, and then it makes it hard to give help to so many that need it. So, um, but yeah, I mean, there are so many things. Now, I know that you do an annual fundraiser, and I know that you have other things going on throughout the year. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. And then I wonder if we can possibly maybe end with a heartwarming story or two of animals that your organization has been able to make a difference for.
Of course, yeah. So we do have our annual fundraiser that's called the Bark Benefit, and it usually happens in September. Next year's fundraiser, 2026, is scheduled, I believe, for September 19th, and it'll be at Maidenbauer Center. And it's a really wonderful event. We usually have around 350 people coming to enjoy dinner with us, listen to rescue stories, and raise funds for the organization.
Right.
The other very important fundraising time is actually at this time of the year. Giving Tuesday is coming up. Giving Tuesday is a huge fundraising day for all nonprofits and certainly for us too. So we've set a $40,000 goal for this coming Giving Tuesday, and we are already in the process of spreading the word to help raise funds for our organization. And we hope that we will be successful and reach our goal this year.
I mean, I've been to at least one of your events, and possibly two. I can't remember back now because it was a few years ago, but it was wonderful. And I have a painting that I purchased, and it's hanging in my hallway, and I
Oh,
just
wonderful.
absolutely love it. You have wonderful things there. And I mean, again, if people can't buy big items or they don't have a lot, I like to remind folks that everything makes a difference. Even if you can only go on the website and send $5, that adds up. If 100 people did that, that's $500. That's a spay and neuter. And so I try to use the motto, do something, do what you can do. Now, what about the heartwarming stories, which, make this journey more bearable when we hear about an animal that's really been helped? I'd love to hear, um, you know, maybe about a specific dog in recent months that
Oh,
has
sure.
benefited from you.
Yeah. Well, we actually had a really heartwarming story this week. We received a lot of dogs this past week, but one of them that we received is a dog named Billy. So Billy had been spotted in Eastern Washington, running around for several months.
Mm.
People just were not able to catch him, but he kept popping up in different places. And finally, one day last week, he was caught. And so we got the message, hey, Billy's been caught. Can we transfer him to you? And we said, of course. So we received him the following day. He's this little tan poodle mix.
Oh, oh,
And he arrived and was so incredibly matted. I pulled out my clippers to see if I could clean him up a little bit, and his matting was so bad I couldn't even get my clippers through.
oh,
And it was deeply, deeply uncomfortable for him. It's actually painful when mats get so bad because it
yes,
twists the skin,
yes.
and it hurts a lot. So we made the decision to bring him to our vet, Crossroads Vet in Bellevue, who are amazing. They're always there to help us in emergencies like this. So we brought him there, and they put him under sedation so that they could shave him completely.
Mm.
And then we also noticed that he was holding up one of his legs a little bit as if that was painful for him. So we had them x-ray um, his foot, and it turns out he had a bullet in his leg.
Oh,
So we had to x-ray his entire body to make sure there weren't bullets elsewhere
oh,
also. And but yeah, these are the stories that we see almost on a daily basis
oh.
with, as if it's not bad enough that he was abandoned and left to fend for himself for months. Somebody also used him for target practice.
What's wrong
And
with these monsters? I
that
don't even.
stuff
Oh,
just breaks my heart. The good news is, the bullet was removed. He's cleanly shaved, so his fur can grow back really nicely. We neutered him at the same time and vaccinated and microchipped him. And he's in a foster home now, just living it up, having a great time, warm, cuddly. He's a lovely boy, and when he's ready, we will find him the perfect home. It takes, dogs like him a little while to settle in because they've been in fight or flight mode for so long, having been out in the cold on their own. But he is doing great.
I mean, it's stories like that should encourage folks, come on, just chip in a little bit, do something, because every penny that goes to a cause like this is going to help another dog like Billy. Or next time it may be a large breed that's harder to place. But anyway, I mean, these things, they're individuals. We put names and faces to them, and it makes it more tangible because sometimes we're overwhelmed by just the sheer amount, the sheer numbers. We want to save all the kids in the world. We want to feed all the hungry people. We want to help all the animals. Just do something, and it's going to get people to that goal faster. So anyway, as always happens when we're having a wonderful conversation, the time goes too fast. So we are going to wrap it up. But Jacintha, thank you so much for joining us today. And we will have you back again, and we'll talk about how things are going after the first of the year. So thanks again for joining us, Jacintha.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to take a very short break and come right back to wrap up the show. I'm Marilyn Milano, your host on Love Has Many Faces. Thank you. Hi, this is Marilyn Milano, your host of Love Has Many Faces. The music that you're hearing during this show every week is exclusively original music from my own CDs. If you're enjoying it and would like to order a copy of one of my 2 CDs for yourself or as a gift, just go to marilynmilano.net and you can order directly from the website. I give a portion of every sale back to Animal Rescue because that's part of the whole cause. Thank you for listening, and thanks for your support.
Alternative Talk 1150. It's good for what ails you. This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA.
Welcome back again to Love Has Many Faces. What a wonderful conversation with Jacintha Syed from Saving Great Animals, one of the local rescues here in Seattle area. As she said, and you heard this, rescues are overwhelmed. There are so many animals that need help. They need care. So take a look at their website, savinggreatanimals.org. Anything you can do, $5, $5,000, whatever your limit is, an hour of volunteering. Maybe you can share information. You know what they say, if you can't adopt, foster. If you can't foster, volunteer. If you can't volunteer, donate. And if you can't donate, share an email, share some information. If everybody who cares does something, together we will save more great animals. So thank you for joining us on Love Has Many Faces today. I'm Marilyn Milano. We're on Alternative Talk 1150. See you next time.